for our review this week, our friends over at Dark Horse sent us this Masters of the Universe Revolution. Now, we're in a pretty interesting position because Jeff and Clay have not watched the season of Masters of the Universe Revolution. And I feel like a lot of this book relies on you having that knowledge.
It must, because it missed with me.
So, okay. So if you haven't seen the latest season of Masters of the Universe on Netflix, maybe skip ahead. I'll have timestamps in the description. Let's talk about the creative team real quick. So this is a story by Tim Sheridan, Rob David, and Ted Baselli, who are all the story people behind the animated show. And the script is by Tim Sheridan, who I think is a great writer. We have pencils by Daniel HDR, inks by Keith Champagne, and colors by Brad Simpson, letters by Anwar Design. So Clay, let's start with you since you said this was a miss. What's going on? Where's the disconnect?
Well, I mean, it tries to reach back in deep He-Man lore and tell this story. And as it got there, I kind of just didn't care where it was going. I wasn't invested. I don't know why the story couldn't just pick up on page 1, panel 1, and just jump from there. I love the show. I love the first part that I've seen. But I don't have Netflix now, so I don't have the second show. So
Gotcha.
Then this is kind of a bust if you don't have that, because I find myself drifting off while I was reading it, and the art kept me in.
Yeah.
But I would find myself rereading panels.
Here, since you brought that up, this is kind of the first few pages of the art.
Yeah.
So we go back all the way to the beginning of time, seems like, in Eternian. But pretty rad designs for these. So these creatures are behind a lot of the big plot points in season 2. I don't even want to talk too deep about it because I feel like if you guys watch season 2, maybe and then go back to this. So Jeff, how did you feel about the book?
I'm a little. So I've only seen like a couple of episodes of season 2, and I just haven't finished it yet. So I'm with Clay. Like I got a little bit more out of it. I think maybe just a skosh. But I did feel like I'm definitely missing. I think the comic does assume that you've seen the second season, and so like a lot of this stuff feels like you're getting filled in on stuff that you caught in the second season. But if you didn't catch it, then you're just like, it's almost like reading a history book, sort of like it's not very.
Yeah,
there's nothing compelling to it.
Yeah, I get that.
You know enough about like the universe and stuff where you're just kind of hooked. I do like all the character designs. I mean, they're super cool. It made me want to play with the toys.
Like I said, the art top notch.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of exposition in it, and then not a lot is really said. Not a lot happens. It's just Hordak meets Keldor.
Yeah, I feel like this first issue is a lot of like, if you haven't seen the show, we're gonna try to fill you in on this first one, right? And from here we can tell the story that we actually want to tell. I do love seeing all the Hordak stuff, like just his actual army, because in the show you don't get to see a lot of people working with him. It's really just him and like maybe a few other smaller characters. There's some characters that feel like I should recognize them later on in a few other pages. I don't have preview pages for that. But even just seeing all these people with the Hordak armor and that's cool. And then like I said, this first part, like these creatures or these entities are a big part of the lore too that kind of gets built up. And then I do love. I mean, this is, even if you haven't seen it, like you can recognize what this is the top of the staff, right? That Skeletor usually wields. So so there's a lot there. So I think our conclusion, and correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth, if you've seen the season 2, you'll probably get a lot more out of this. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely going to drag a little bit. So I think I'd be curious to have you guys. So whenever we get the second issue, I'll send it over, and maybe you could check it out and see if like, okay, did the first issue give you enough to get you kind of hooked,
on the second issue. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is there anything else we want to say on this? I know it's kind of a brief review, but
there've been more tie-ins because this is the Kevin Smith universe on Netflix. There's a second. Are there 2 He-Man cartoons happening right now?
There are.
I see okay.
There are 2 There's one that's more gear for younger. I think that actually says He-Man. Okay. Maybe it's just called He-Man, but there's definitely one gear towards younger audiences, and then the Kevin Smith stuff that's continuing the original cartoon. So
yeah,
which highly recommend. We got reviews for that season 2 on the channel, reviews for season 1. Kevin Smith liked my tweets about it, so so. All right,
way to go, Silent Bob. Do you prefer your He-Man more barbarian or more cartoony kids?
No, I think barbarian.
Barbarian.
Yeah. I did want to mention the cover for this issue is super fucking rad.
Oh yeah.
These are the 2 covers. This is the cover A has Hordak, and then cover B is the Magnola, which doesn't even look like Magnola much.
Yeah, it doesn't. I thought it was like Michael.
It looks like somebody doing Magnola.
Yeah. But he's been doing alternate covers for a lot of the Dark Horse books. I think